Well, this is Jay Reedy. Welcome back to the Reedy Chronicles. Needing to show this 2007 F350 truck some love. Just changed the fuel filters. There's two of them. That's at the 10,000 mile mark. I need to change the engine oil. That's at 7,500 miles. If I worked it harder, it would be 5,000 miles. What I'm going to do, I need to replace the brakes. Brake pads all the way around. I use the big 1-inch ratchet, reduced down. That's a 21 millimeter socket with a breaker bar. I don't know what these things, I almost had to jump on the bar to get them loose. Earlier I had bought some new tires and they really reefed the lug nuts down on these things. Something that I found at a RV shop are these air valves extenders for the inside, so I can check and air up the tires all at one time for the inner and outer tires. What I'm going to do is change the differential oil out of the rear end. You can kind of see that it's seeping around the bottom. It's not coming from the driveline yoke up front. So first thing, I'm going to pull that cover off, replace it, pull it off, and then I'm going to jack it up. And of course we have to pull the axle to get to the rotors, and I'll need to take those over to Shamrock Motors, get the rotors turned. So right now, stand by. We're going to take and drain the fluid out of the rear end and get that done first. All right, here we are under the rear end of this F350. What we're going to do is take this cover off behind me. You need a 9/16 socket, and I got my heavy-duty drain pan that I'm going to let this all float into. And I've got an impact wrench. I don't think I'll be able to get onto all of the bolts, but let's get started. Kind of cramped space underneath here. And the tag is still on the rear end that gives you the information. I'll show that to you real quick. Well, it's I can't hardly read it. I'd have to clean it up, but the rear end tag that would tell you more information about your rear end, the gear ratio, and all of that. Let's get a, just from the smell of it, it smells a little burnt. So looking at this cover, they did not use a gasket. They just used this Forma gasket or Perma gasket, whatever that, it's red stuff. I've never seen red stuff before. I'm familiar with the black and I'm familiar with the blue. So we'll let this continue to drain out. Let me get the camera. Let's give you a bird's eye view of what I'm looking at. So we'll clean up around all of this, then we'll clean up the cover, and I think I'm going to look for a gasket, put a gasket on here to replace, when I replace the cover back on the rear end. Alright, now to my left, driver's side, it's a little downhill. What I'll do is jack this up, try to make it level across the rear end here, and I guess it's not necessary just as long as I have a drain pan, and I've got an additional drain pan, so when I pull out the axles, then the axles will have some place to, when I pull out the axles, the rest of the fluid will have somewhere to run. Hi, how are you? All right, it's getting late in the day. Just got back from the auto repair shop that turns rotors. They recommended new rotors and not to turn what was there, being a 1-ton and hauling heavy loads, have a heat up problem and brake failure. So we took the rotor off, got the seal out. I need to get on the computer, try to figure out where I live. I have to travel some miles to end up getting what I need. And then on looking here, the parking brakes pads, the seal was bad, so I'll have to replace that. The calipers are falling apart. The inside pistons are crumbling. Those need to be replaced. So just about everything on this will have to be replaced. So anyway, now it's time to put stuff up for the night, get on the computer, find out the nearest town, all the parts that I need, and like always, thanks for watching, and we'll get this truck put back together, back out on the road. Thanks again.